and Brendon Todd's 18 under is a 54-hole record for the Travelers Championship. Perhaps he'll challenge the tournament record of 22 under par. First time in tournament history, there have been 2 or more rounds of 61 or better shot on the same day. All right, let's welcome in 3 of the 4 voices of the First Cut podcast. Sportsline data scientist Rick Gehman, CBS Sports golf analysts Kyle Porter, Greg Ducharme. Dustin Johnson surging up the leaderboard with a career-low, bogey-free 9 under 61. Kyle, what did you see from DJ today?
Well, I saw 12 threes on the card, which is incredible when you consider he only played 18 holes. He was awesome from tee to green. I mean, really, really sharp. And he talked about this after his round. His iron play was unbelievable. You're going to see a shot here that lands, I think this was the one that was about 6 inches from the hole. This is a course where, I've kind of been talking about this the last few days. He's got a lot of different options because you have some of these short par 4s that he can hit a number of different clubs into. You saw the shot shape that he had on 15 with the 3-wood. That was amazing. That shot shape right here, you'll see it. I mean, that's so good right there. And, he can work it. He usually hits that little fade there, but he can work it both ways a little bit. And he was just lights out from tee to green at a level that I think is probably sustainable for him. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how it plays out on Sunday as he's 2 back of Brendon Todd going into the final round. But if he hits it like he did on Saturday, he's going to end up the winner.
What didn't we see from Dustin Johnson on Saturday is maybe a better question. Kyle covered the tee to green stuff. I'll cover the on the green stuff, which is the fact that Dustin Johnson is playing his 3rd different putter in 3 weeks. Well, DJ, I think you found one. Let's keep this one in the bag because he was rolling everything in. And this has been the natural progression for Dustin Johnson since we've come back from golf. He went out on Friday at the Travelers Championship and shot his best round of the season. Then he goes out on Saturday and shoots the best round of his career. We talked so much about how he spent his time off over break, kind of getting away from golf. Apparently the reset has worked because Dustin Johnson is showing us flashes of what got him to the #1 player in the world.
Dustin Johnson's a player who's won on the PGA Tour every year since his rookie year, 2008, which is an amazing run that has continued. And this is the year I was wondering, are we going to see Dustin Johnson? Are we going to see this streak end? It can't be this year, but you have he comes out with an injury and he's a little bit rusty early on in the year. And then we have the long layoff and he loses 3 months of a PGA Tour season and comes back a little bit rusty again. Well, tomorrow he has an opportunity to add and keep that record going. And if he continues to swing the club the way that he is, you heard Kyle mention the little baby fade tee shot that he hit on 15. When he has that little fade working and he's not losing it to the right too much, he's really hard to beat. And it's an extremely repeatable swing that he's been repeating for years, as long as he's been on the PGA Tour. And that's why he has been such a consistent performer, such a consistent winner. And the weeks when he has the putter going, which Rick alluded to, he is really hard to beat. So Dustin Johnson, definitely part of the story heading into tomorrow.
DJ Shirley heating up 2 shots behind Brendon Todd, who also carded a 9 under 61 on Saturday, a career low. He's won twice on tour this season back in November. Kyle, what's your reaction to Brendon Todd's sizzling round?
Well, his first 3 days have been so interesting because he is not in the top 50 in terms of driving distance, but he's in the top 5 in terms of strokes gained off the tee. And the reason, Hakeem, is because he's hit 41 of 42 fairways. That's almost impossible to do if the fairways are 200 yards wide, and he's doing it in a PGA Tour event. He's been absolutely locked in and had a real shot at shooting 60 on Saturday in the 3rd round. He didn't do it, but he really set himself up nicely for what would be his 3rd win of the season. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but kind of the inside track to winning the PGA Tour Player of the Year award. There's only going to be 1 major this year. He would be the first player to get to 3 wins on the season. Webb Simpson and Justin Thomas both have 2, and Todd has 2 right now. But if he wins on Sunday, he's really setting himself up nicely, and it looks easy for him right now. He doesn't really look like he's putting out a ton of effort, not a lot of stress. That's what happens, I guess, when you hit 41 of 42 fairways over the first 3 days of an event.
Fairways hit, driving accuracy, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated statistics, one of the more useless statistics on the PGA Tour. And the reason for that is you see guys who hit a lot of fairways, it doesn't correlate to success. Brendon Todd this week on a golf course like this, when you have that many opportunities from the fairway, they yield real birdie opportunities because length is a little less important here. You're going to have wedges into some of these greens. And to shoot a 61, to shoot 9 under, it sounds crazy. It's a crazy low round, but you just put these players with par threes with short wedges and short irons in their hands, and it's feasible to birdie every other hole. So it's not surprising in a sense once you're in the fairway, but that's a big part of the battle. Now, Brendon Todd is a player who basically lost his swing a couple years ago. He was a mainstay on the PGA Tour for a number of years and then lost his game to the point where he nearly considered quitting. He had a shot to the right that would come out at unknown times. He had no way to predict it, and he could not put 4 rounds together. That has changed, and you see a guy hitting this many fairways. If he continues to put himself in position that way tomorrow, with all the wedge opportunities that he'll have, he's going to be right there in the mix.
We talk a lot about styles of play and volatility, and Brendon Todd is a guy who offers a highly volatile but also highly successful style of play. Now the 3rd round of 62 or better on tour this season, and we talked about the back-to-back wins, Bermuda, Mayakoba, but don't forget, his 3rd start after that, he finished 4th at the RSM Classic. He gets on these heaters where he can literally be the hottest golfer on the face of the earth. He just did it a few months ago, and he goes out and is kind of shredding TPC River Highlands on Saturday to the tune of a 61. So we'll see if he can keep it going for one more round on Sunday. He's already proven twice this year he has staying power and he can raise the trophy on Sunday. A 3rd one in this field would be the most impressive.
Brendon Todd leading after 3 rounds. Phil Mickelson led after 2 rounds. Starting today with a 1-shot lead. He falls off the pace. He has filed for the trademark hit bombs, which is awesome. We love that. What we also would have loved to see is him stay atop the leaderboard. He's now off the pace here. Kyle, we saw him skull that shot on the par 5 13th. What happened with Phil in this round? 3 bogeys.
Well, he should have filed for the trademark hit fairways because he didn't do much of it on Saturday in the 3rd round. Look, we talked the first 2 days, Hakeem, about being able to sustain the level of play in terms of the ball striking that he was experiencing over the first 36 holes. Can he sustain those tee to green numbers throughout the course of the entire event? And I think we got our answer on Saturday, and it was no. He couldn't. He was really bad from tee to green, kind of held it together around the greens and with the putter, kept it from being really over par, but it's just so hard. And Phil has talked about this a lot. He's talked, and I think it's so interesting when he does talk about it. He's talked about how difficult it is for him to concentrate for a full 72-hole event. And you see the ball on the train tracks right there. That's the only thing that leads to a shot like that. Phil's one of the best sand players of all time. How does he hit a ball like that onto the train tracks? It has to be a lack of concentration, a lack of focus, a lack of being able to stay mentally engaged throughout the entire event. And that's why at his age, with some bumpy tee to green play and that lack of focus, it's going to be so hard to beat out the Dustin Johnsons and Jon Rahms and Rory McIlroys of the world for an entire 4-day event.
Nobody stays on brand more than Phil Mickelson. We saw a little bit of that today. I think Kyle's point about the focus is really interesting. That scold bunker shot, remember, he dropped it in the same spot and hit a peach right after that. So it's not a lack of inability to hit the shot. It might just be a lack of focus. But what we saw on Saturday for Phil Mickelson was putting himself in a lot of precarious positions. On Thursday and Friday, he did a little bit of that, but he was always able to find that Houdini-like escape magic that we know we can get from Phil Mickelson. On Saturday, he put himself in the same positions, was unable to escape, and you see how quickly numbers can add up. And when you're one of the only 1 or 2 guys in the top 25 of the leaderboard to shoot, even par or worse, that's going to drop you quite a bit on moving day.
There's a formula for success here at the Travelers, and you just look at Brendon Todd, put the ball in play, and you're going to have wedge opportunities. And if you're Phil Mickelson, you're one of the best wedge players in the world. Putting the ball in the fairway is going to yield scores like 64, 63, like we saw out of the first 2 rounds for him. And when he gets a little erratic off the tee and he hits a shot like he did on number 3 and the tee shot he hit on number 14 and a couple others throughout the round, it becomes much more difficult. And bogeys on a day like this, on a scoring day like this, where you have multiple players shooting 61, you have a couple 63s out there, Bryson shooting another 65. A bogey sets you back a long way, and when you make 3 of them, it becomes extremely difficult to fight back, and you find yourself getting run over, and that's unfortunately what happened to Phil because of just a couple bad swings. So as Kyle and Rick alluded to, focus becomes very important to maintain that strategy because you have to do it over 72 holes. We've seen Brendon Todd do it over 54 holes, only missing 1 fairway, and that's why he is the leader after 54 holes. So the player that can kind of hang on the longest and continue through 72 holes to give themselves the most opportunities is going to be the player who ends up winning.
Tournament record is 22 under par set in 2009. We saw a record score set last week by Webb Simpson, also at 22 under par at the RBC Heritage. The score to beat right now, 18 under. Kyle, I'll start with you. What do you think the winning score will be, and who's going to win the Travelers Championship?
I think 22 is a pretty good number. If Brendon Todd shoots, that would be 66 on Sunday. DJ would have to shoot a 64 to tie him. So I think if you get to 22, you're pretty safe. I'm going to go with DJ. I think that the way he's hitting it right now, I mean, look, we probably say this about 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys in the world. Nobody makes it look easier, right? I think that's maybe most true of DJ because of how much he holds back in terms of his length. He's got some other guys on the leaderboard that nobody makes it look harder, like Phil, like Bryson at times. But I think DJ is, I think he's really locked in, not just with the driver, but his irons right now. Even last week at RBC Heritage, his iron play over the weekend was good, was solid at times, not throughout, but at times. And you've seen more of that this week. So he seems to be, things seem to be clicking for him right now, and I've got him winning on Sunday.
I'm looking at the scores saying I think it's going to take 23 to win. I think Brendon Todd's just playing that well. That's why. So I'm going to say 23 under. I'm going to say Brendon Todd is the first and only player to get there. And it's because he just continues to give himself these opportunities. And we get a little rain this afternoon. The greens are going to get softer. It's going to be a big advantage to continue to put the ball in position the way Brendon Todd is. I think he's swinging better than anybody else right now, and I know that's saying a lot because DJ's swinging really well, but he's missed 1 fairway, as Kyle said earlier. He's hit at least 15 greens in every single round, and he's rolling the ball really, really nicely. I don't think Brendon Todd has to do too much to go get a win tomorrow. He's just got to kind of pick off a couple of birdies and continue to give himself opportunities. I think he does that. I think it's a 5 under round, and he gets to 23 under tomorrow.
I'm going to stick with my pre-tournament pick, Bryson DeChambeau. I think it's an unwritten rule that when your guy's in the top 5 heading into Sunday, you can't really change your pick. So I'll stick with Bryson. And we talk a lot about path to victory. It is clearly very narrow for Bryson DeChambeau. He's probably going to have to go out, maybe shoot one of those 61s, maybe a 62. But we haven't had that low round from him this week. He's been very solid, hovering around 65, 66. All week long, and we know if he can put his foot on the pedal, if he can, reach number 9, maybe land one on the green, there's another drivable par 4 later in the round. If he can take advantage of the par 5 13th, like there are opportunities for Bryson, but he's going to need a really magical round to raise the trophy on Sunday.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.